Is the F1 world about to witness a major shakeup? Rumors are swirling that Aramco, a financial powerhouse and title partner of Aston Martin, is eyeing a buyout of the Silverstone Bay Squad. With promises to sign top F1 talents like Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, the stakes are high. But what does this mean for current Red Bull employees? Aston Martin is considering selling a big part of their team to Aramco, a major player in F1. Talks heated up after meetings in Saudi Arabia and Aramco's offers to key Red Bull staff. The Saudi royal family is open about their plans. After getting to host a Grand Prix, they want their own Formula One team. They might even buy Aston Martin F1 for a huge amount of money through their company Aramco. If it happens, it might not look good for Formula One. Every year, Formula One goes to places like Bahrain, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and now Saudi Arabia for races. But it's not because the local fans are super into it. It's because rich folks like sheikhs pay big bucks to host Formula One races for the prestige. Critics say it's not right for Formula One to be in countries where human rights aren't valued much. Whether Lawrence Stroll and his partners decide to sell Aston Martin F1 for a huge profit is their call. But it's kind of ironic because one reason Andretti Cadillac was turned down from joining Formula One was the worry they'd sell the team quickly for big money. So Stroll might end up doing what Andretti was criticized for. But let's set that aside. Selling to Aramco wouldn't be a great move. It sends a message that anything can be bought with enough money, even if it's not the right thing to do ethically. It's one thing to visit a country for a race, but giving them influence in the sport is different. Saudi Arabia's royal family doesn't have a great track record with LGBTQ rights, so having them involved in a sport that's all about equality doesn't sit right. It would be especially painful if Aston Martin ends up in Saudi hands. This team, with Sebastian Vettel as their face, has always been loud about human rights and equality for everyone. Considering Aston Martin's inconsistent performance, will Lawrence Stroll abandon his dream of making his son a world champion? And can Aramco create the ultimate dream team in F1 history? Aramco, a big company in F1 since 2020, is rumored to be in talks to buy Aston Martin. They've supported F1 through tough times like the 2020 pandemic and now want a bigger role, possibly by buying an existing team. There's a strong bond between Aston Martin and Aramco, especially since talks began in late 2023. Lawrence Stroll considered selling the team when his son seemed to want to leave the sport. Aramco is likely the top choice to buy Aston Martin quickly. The big question is how much of the team Lawrence is willing to sell. He already sold a small part to Arcto's partner in November, so selling more isn't impossible. People wonder how much of the team might be sold, and it's on everyone's mind. Lawrence wants to make money and keep his son in a job, but Lance isn't performing well. If Fernando leaves for Mercedes, it could complicate things further. From 2025 onwards, filling the spot that Fernando Alonso would leave behind will be tough. You'd have to compete against the owner's son, who might not contribute much but could affect your career if you race against him. So, Aston Martin's goal is to bring in a strong driver alongside Lance. This would push Lance to improve and show how important it is that his father owns the team. Top drivers might ask for this if they join Aston Martin, which is moving away from Mercedes and working independently. Aramco, a huge company making billions, is ready to step in and complete a buyout of Aston Martin. In some Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia, there's a lot of money involved in sports. Aramco, a big oil company from Saudi Arabia, wants to make a winning team in Formula One by signing Verstappen and Ricciardo. They're even willing to pay them a lot of money, maybe even more than Ferrari was going to offer. And just so you know, the top 3 highest paid people in the team don't have to worry about the budget limit. Even though there are rules about spending money in Formula One, Aramco is still willing to give a lot of money to sign Verstappen and Ricciardo. But for this to happen, Aramco needs to finish buying the team, which they've been trying to do for a while. Lawrence Stroll, who owns the team, has been hinting that he might sell it, especially after selling a part of it to an American company last November. During the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Aramco made moves to talk to important people in the sport, showing they're serious about this. Red Bull is facing some problems within the team, despite their leaders like Horner and Verstappen agreeing to focus on winning races. Verstappen's team still feels the same though. They believe there will be trouble as long as Horner is in charge. When there's trouble, it's possible that the big stars might leave to show they can do better elsewhere, even if they're doing well right now. We shouldn't forget that 2026 is coming up, and it's believed that besides Ferrari and Mercedes, the partnership between Aston Martin and Honda is also getting stronger. Honda has a lot of experience building engines for Formula One, and they're not new to the game. They could give a midfield team a chance to win championships. Verstappen trusts Honda's engines, which have gotten much better recently, so it's likely he sees Honda as important for his future in F1. Even though he says he has no reason to leave Red Bull right now, he mentioned that big moves can happen in a career, like Lewis Hamilton moving to Ferrari. Now we see why Red Bull wants to calm things down and avoid conflict, especially with these rumors floating around. The Honda partnership could sway Max's decision. If Honda joins Aston Martin, it gives them a big boost since having a manufacturer's support is crucial in F1. For Max's team, having Honda on board would be a good thing. On the other hand, Red Bull is kinda new to the game, especially if they're going solo with their own power unit from Ford. It's a new era, and it could go either way, but Honda's experience might give them an edge. If Max decides to leave Red Bull, there's a chance he could join Mercedes. Even though Mercedes is struggling right now and Hamilton left, their engine power could still attract Max. Mercedes is a top team in Formula One, so joining them is a tempting offer. Wolff, the boss, has been trying to sign both Marco and Verstappen. He even joked about it, but Marco quickly said no. Now, with all the changes at Red Bull, Mercedes might rethink their decision. Wolff also talked about the 2025 seats at both Mercedes and Red Bull. He said anything is possible if Red Bull's boss, Christian Horner, stays. But Wolff knows Mercedes is struggling to improve their car, which might not attract Verstappen. Even though Mercedes was dominant for years, they're not doing well lately. Wolff said it's up to Mercedes to prove they have the best car in 2026. Verstappen will also have to compete with George Russell for a seat. Even though Max might be okay with having Lewis Hamilton as his teammate again, it'll be tougher if the three-time world champion joins Mercedes. Max might prefer to avoid this scenario, even though he's not scared of competition. What's more important to Max is the future of the teams he's considering. Aston Martin, despite their struggles, has a good base to improve from, and they're getting more independent from Mercedes. On the other hand, while Mercedes has been great, they're facing challenges that might set them back. Mercedes is slipping down the list of top teams, which might not attract drivers like Max anymore. This suggests that we could see the three-time world champion driving for a different team soon. Right now, Max is still with Red Bull, and Newey is still their top engineer. But things might not look so good for Red Bull in the future, with internal problems and reports of Horner wanting a bigger role. If the team can't sort out their issues, it might be better for Max and others to leave. Without Verstappen and Newey, Red Bull loses a lot of experience and marketing value. With all this happening, do you think Verstappen and Newey will join Aston Martin? And could this help Red Bull get back to being a top team instead of chasing others? Share your thoughts in the comments. Also, if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Until next time, see you all!